everyone, I'm Cosmic and welcome to the Cloud. This video is a highlighted conversation from a recent livestream I did where I gave my thoughts on the whole third kits in Splatoon 3 situation. In case you're out of the loop, Splatoon 1 and 2 had a number of main weapons that received 3 different variations, each with their own sub and special combination. In Splatoon 3, every weapon still has only 2 kits, so there's been a lot of speculation about third kits eventually being added. In the past games, these kits have always come out after the regular update cycle, and in the most recent Splatoon 3 patch, multiple credible data miners found potential evidence of third kit files in the game. On top of that, the King's Cup tournament, announced by Nintendo immediately after Grand Festival, was going to hold its grand finals in mid-December. Based on the timeline of previous third kit announcements, and with Splatoon 2 announcing third kits at a tournament shortly after its regular content was finished, it was reasonable to think third kits in Splatoon 3 were at least a possibility. But Saturday came and it didn't happen. No third kits were announced, and at this point it's unlikely that they ever will be. I know some people are pretty upset about this, and on some level I am too, but I thought I would share my thoughts in more detail and maybe help put some things into perspective. Here's the highlight. Hope you enjoy. Honestly, so the third kits thing, I don't think I care that much. Like, I don't know, I was kind of talking about this with people earlier, and it's like, there was a point where I did fully expect third kits. Like, it wasn't even like a hope thing. I'm like, you know, the past games had third kits, so I think we're getting third kits. Then obviously they announced they're ending regular updates, Grand Festival happened, everything seemed to be kind of cooling down for Splatoon 3. I'm like, okay, you know, maybe it's not, you know, as likely at this point. And then now that we're at this point, we're the end of 2024 and no third kits, I definitely don't think it's happening at this point. If it does, it would be a cool surprise. But I am content with the amount of stuff in the game. And you know, I mean, you guys probably know how I feel, and I'm sure, seems like in our chat, we've been mostly pretty chill about it, but I know some people are genuinely like, the game sucks or is bad if there are no third kits. It's a weird conversation, right? Because Splatoon 3 technically has better variety than Splatoon 2, right? Because it has more kits overall, and despite having less options per weapon kit, there are more main weapons. And you know, in theory, a different main weapon should be like, you know, it should feel like a greater amount of content than just a weapon kit, because every, you know, all 3 pieces of the kit are a different playstyle. Like, they're doing a different thing. It's not just the same main weapon. So like, there is technically, statistically, more variety in Splatoon 3 than any other Splatoon game. But I think it's just this thing of like, a lot of people who play the game only like, you know, 1 or 2 weapons, or like, you know, they only play a small handful, a small pool of weapons, so a lot of those weapons they're just never going to touch. I do think it's more of a casual thing than a competitive thing. Like, I think for the most part it's like, competitive players can make the most out of what's in the game, but for casual people, if you only play 1 or 2 weapons and those only have 2 kits each, it's going to feel like less content than Splatoon 2, where maybe one of those weapons or both of them had 3 kits. So like, I get why it's disappointing, and I'm not even saying like, oh, you just need to play more weapons. Like, I don't know. I think it's just Nintendo tried to use a different approach that technically does provide more variety in the game, but you know, the way a lot of people play, it like doesn't work out that way. That's the way I see things, at least. So it's like, I get the disappointment, but you know, from my own perspective, it does its job as a sequel. It evolves the gameplay, it expands upon it, and I am content with what is in Splatoon 3 at this point in time. So, I guess that's how I feel about it. And like, you know, third kits, again, would be awesome. Like, absolutely, I think it would only be good for the game to add them. There are some weapons that, you know, got kits that most people aren't going to use, and it's unfortunate because those weapons might have had potential if they had a different summon special, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I still think the game is fun. I still think most kits are usable. I think the balance is pretty good. Yeah, I think it was just a weird thing of them being in Splatoon 1 and 2 and then not being in 3. But like, if you look at the bigger picture, I think it makes sense. They'd rather have the new stuff. Well, I just think people have a weird, like, if they bring back, I remember this was a conversation in Splatoon 2 actually, where people were like, I want like this specific Sheldon's pick to come back, and it's like, you know, the look of that Sheldon's pick might come back, but there's no duplicate weapon kits across the entire series. If they did third kits, it wouldn't be old content, because the weapon kits would be different. So, I like, the concept of third kits was in past games, but they were never going to bring back the exact same weapons anyway. so I don't really feel like it's old content. I don't know, the whole conversation around Splatoon 3's content cycle, I think the pacing of the content definitely, like, I didn't think was perfect. I don't really love the catalog system. I don't really dislike seasons. I think I'm more into them than most people are. I'm kind of with Dude on it, where he's, you know, it creates this continuous hype cycle for the game where you have things to look forward to and you have things to speculate about. Like, I like that it builds this pattern of getting excited for the game. And the updates for me were big enough. Like, literally, I just think they were fine. But I understand, like, I think it is a valid criticism to say you liked how Splatoon 2 updated it better. But now that we're in the end game, right? Like, we're at the end of Splatoon 3. We have what it is. You know, maybe the frequency or infrequency of updates tainted your experience with the game, but the game is what it is now, right? Like, all the stuff is in the game. So if we just compare, like, endgame Splatoon 2 to endgame Splatoon 3, I think Splatoon 3 is just easily better. Like, for me, I don't know. There's lots of talk recently about people saying Splatoon 2 was better, and, like, I just so strongly disagree. I just think the core gameplay of Splatoon 3 is just, like, a straight upgrade. I think all the specials are better designed and more fun. Even with the maps being worse, like, I don't know. Like, the maps are a problem. But the specials, I think, were a worse problem in Splatoon 2. I could go on a whole ramble about all the things I think are better about this game, but for me, it's no question. I would rather play Splatoon 3 PvP any day. You know, as someone who likes Splatoon 3, it is frustrating having people talk down on it so much when it's like, again, I don't want to make it this, like, elitist thing. I just implore people to go back to Splatoon 2, to use those specials where all you do is click one button, and the match either nothing happens and you die, or the match is won for you. Because that's every special in Splatoon 2, is you click a button and you win, or you click a button and you lose. And I hate it. I really, Splatoon 2 special design is so bad. I'm so glad we are not in that era anymore, dude. And, like, I love Splatoon 1. I go back to Splatoon 1, but that's because Splatoon 1 has, again, even better camera control than Splatoon 3, because Splatoon 2 is the worst in the series at that. You know, it has the maps that do make up for a lot of the other flaws in the game. Like, again, peak Splatoon would be Splatoon 3 on good maps. But it's always comes to the weapon kits. You know, I know I've talked about this a lot. I just don't get it. I don't get the complaints with the weapon kits. I think people are making stuff up. I think Splatoon 3 easily has the most viable weapon kits in the game. It has the most, like, fun options. Like, competitive literally has, like, more variety from what I've followed. Like, yeah, sure, there's been, like, you know, there was, like, double splash, double crab meta. There's, you know, the whole cooler issue, but still, like, cooler enables all these other options. Like, I just don't know what people are talking about. I just literally think this game has the best weapon kits by far. And people talk about it like it's the biggest problem with the game. It's like, I just don't know what game we're playing. Because it doesn't seem like the same one. Yeah, no, yeah, sure. Like, the whole weapon kit system, I think, is fair to criticize. I think across all of the games, there have been flaws with it. I just don't get the argument that Splatoon 3 is the worst at it. I guess some people are just looking for a different experience. Like, if you're going to Splatoon 2 and playing, like, Turf War, like, yeah, I don't know, maybe you find that more fun. I just think arguing that, like, the most people in the community would have more fun doing that is where I'm just confused. Like, if that is the case, I guess I just disagree. So I don't know. It's just a weird thing. And I know it's just the people on the internet are going to be negative and whatever, but it's like, yeah, as someone who has been in the community of all three games, I just don't understand the negativity around Splatoon 3, because maybe it's just because the player base is so much bigger. Maybe it's because on the content side, I feel like there was just more of a competitive focus than casual focus compared to something like Splatoon 2. I don't know what it was, but yeah, people just complain about the game a lot more when I think it's the best one in the series. So it's just confusing to me, because yeah, it doesn't add up in my mind. The Splatoon 2 update cycle, I think, is a very different experience if you're a Splatoon 1 veteran versus a new player to Splatoon 2. Because I mentioned this in the in the Q&A, but it's like, yeah, if you didn't play Splatoon 1, every weapon that's being added to the game is a new weapon. But for Splatoon 1 players, we were waiting on content from the last game to be added. I have more issues with Splatoon 2's update cycle. And, like, even then, I think Splatoon 2's update cycle was still good. I think Octo Expansion coming out when it did was perfect timing. It brought a ton of hype back into the game. The weapon updates were more consistent because there was less stuff to add to the game. Like, I mean, that's just the big thing. The launch was smaller, so the updates were more consistent because there was less content in the game. Like, Splatoon 3 just gave us that stuff already. So that's where I feel like people kind of have lost the plot with Splatoon 3 content. It's like, well, yeah, that stuff wasn't added because it's already there. If it was just like a more honest, you know, informed discussion where people could just talk nicely, it wouldn't be so frustrating, but it becomes annoying. It's just annoying. As per usual, didn't expect that rant to go on that long, but yeah. Sonic good, Splatoon good. We out here enjoying video game media.